Hi guys, editing me here, popping in before this video even fucking starts to warn you, this is absolute chaos. It's a rambling, chaotic, all over the place, bumbling mess. I apologize. This is my third insert that I've made. I'm putting this at the beginning. There's two other inserts in there. This is an hour-long video. Okay, come back with a vengeance, I guess, only to disappear again probably till the end of the year, knowing my track record. But this is it. Welcome to the chaotic fucking train wreck mess that is typical of my channel. Apologies to anybody who loves the live ships. Sorry, Cass. Don't hate me. Good luck. I hope you stick around for the entire video. But yeah. On we go. Hi friends, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel. And again, it's been a while. See if I remember how to do this. I had planned on filming this video a month ago, something like that. And I didn't because, I did. I filmed it twice and didn't like it and scrapped it both times and then just got frustrated and then just didn't do it. But yeah, you can tell by the title of this video, I read the entire Farseer Trilogy in a week by Robin Hobb. That was in September, I think. Was it September? August? September, I think. Yeah, it was in September. It's just been a while because now I'm currently on the third book in the Mad Ship series, or Mad Ship Trilogy. And I should have finished that weeks ago, but I haven't, and we'll get to that, hopefully. So I don't know exactly how I want this video to go. Like I said, I filmed this twice. I scrapped it both times. I was rambling too much and I felt like I didn't make sense. And a lot of people have read these books and have way better insight than I do. I read these books because I got FOMO. I watched Becca from Becca in the Books finish the series and watched her sob. I watched Cody sob. I watched all these people finish it. And I'm like, okay, I have a cold, dead black heart. I don't cry at all. I've tried Robin Hobb multiple times physically and I'd pick it up and I just got bored. Like, she can write really well. She writes beautiful characters, but the prose is very slow. The plot is very slow. I mean, honestly, that's one of the things I'll get into is her plot. But it was just like, but I wanted to read it. So all of the books except for the last 3 of the 16 are on Scribd. So I was like, fine, I'm going to listen on audio. I zipped through the first trilogy. I read the Farseer Trilogy in a week. And I wasn't even on vacation or anything. I just got into it. I got sucked into it. And I think the narrator had a lot to do with that. The narrator was fantastic. And I had to slow it down a little bit because he had a British accent. And I can understand British accents, but I can't have it up to the higher speed because then I lose some things in the dialect. And it's because I'm an American English speaker. So I can listen to that a lot faster and still my brain retains it faster when it's somebody from the UK. I have to slow down just a little bit to make sure I catch everything. But I loved the narrator. The narrator was fantastic. So if you have no idea what the Farseer Trilogy is or the Robin Hobb, Realm of the Elderlings, you've been living under a rock apparently. And I can't really give the best description. Honestly, Becca does it the best. I will link Becca's channel in the description box. That girl has a video of how to read it, like where to start, which there's only one real way to read it, in my opinion, and she agrees, in publication order, from start to finish. Like, people are like, oh no, you can read Mad Ships first. You can, but a lot of stuff that is supposed to land isn't gonna land because you're not gonna understand the references, you're not gonna get it. So that makes it a little difficult, but I would read it in order. And this is probably going to be spoilery. Again, I feel like I'm rambling and I'm jumping subjects, but it's going to have to be a little bit spoilery and to get into the reason why it took me so long to film this, why I'm now slumped when Robin Hobb took me out of my slump. And like Becca said to me, she goes, if Robin Hobb is what breaks your fucking slump, you were severely broken because it is such a slow moving series and most people struggle to get through it and it forces them to slump. Meanwhile, I read the first 3 books in a week and that is unusual. That's close to 3,000 pages in an entire week. So here we are. So I'm going to be spoilery, I guess. So if you have not read the Farseer Trilogy or any of the books and you want to read them, now would be the time to jump off. If, if you want to nope out because I'm going to talk spoilers, go right ahead. Or if you don't give a shit and you don't want to read them and you just want to stay, that would be fine too. I'm not going to really gripe as much about the Farseer Trilogy, but I have some fucking opinions on Mad Ship, so I'm sorry, Cassidy, in advance. You might want to leave now. Okay, Farseer Trilogy. So I guess instead of... This is going to be a review of the first 6 books and kind of where I'm at. So I read the Farseer Trilogy in a week. I think this is the 6th time, 7th time I've said that in this video, and we are only 6 minutes in. And I really loved it. Now I gotta think of my ratings. I think book, was it 4, 4, and 3, I think were my star ratings. So yeah, Assassin's Apprentice was 4 stars. Royal Assassin was 4 stars. And then, I just hit the same one again. And Assassin's Quest was 3. Yeah, so I was right. And I read them all very quickly. So 4, 4, and 3. So this tells the story of Fitz Chivalry Farseer. So it's about a guy named Fitz who, when he's 6 years old, he is dropped off at the keep of the castle where the king lives and all that shit. And he is the Prince Regent's bastard. And once Prince Regal, who is his father, no, not Prince Regal, whoa, bad. Prince Chivalry is his father, and he abdicates the throne, leaves, and goes and lives in the wilderness with his wife, and is just like, nope, I'm done. So then Fitz is raised by the stable master, and book 1 is all of, I think Fitz is 13, 14, he's a teenager, and so we just follow him through the first, I think it's like from age... I think by the end of book 3, he's in his late 20s. So we follow him from his teens into his 20s and like what happens. And there's a lot of world building. Fitz is your typical tortured main character. Everything bad that could happen to Fitz happens to Fitz. It's supposed to tug at your heartstrings. I never cried. I was just like, this kind of... It's like, it's very old school fantasy where it's like it's baiting you to feel something. I like Fitz, which is... I was shocked. I like Fitz. I like him as a character. His thought processes aren't the greatest always, but he very much has the mentality that nobody gives a shit about me. I'm a bastard. I might as well just throw myself out there to try to help the greater good. It doesn't matter if I die. Nobody will care anyways. But I still liked him anyways, which I found kind of odd, honestly, because Fitz is... He's whiny. I said it. He's whiny. He very much complains about his situation a lot without ever really doing anything to fix said situation. Granted, the way this world is structured, there's not much he can do to fix his situation. And sometimes he makes situations worse. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. But Fitz has the power called the wit, where he can talk to animals in his mind. But he can do that with animals only. In this world, it's considered evil to have this ability. Most times when people are found to have this ability, they are fleshed out and killed. I think, what are they, hung, drawn, and quartered, and then drowned, I think. Like, it's a thing. And there is also another gift that is the Farseers, and I can never think of what it is because I didn't really care about it as much. I can't think of it. But it's pretty much the same thing, like talking between minds, but humans only. And I can never think of the name of it because I think it's fucking stupid. Not that it's stupid. The ability's fine, but I liked Fitz's better. I like his ability to speak to animals. And most of the time, these people wit bond with another animal. Fitz ends up bonding with a wolf, which was really cool and fun to see. But as you watch Fitz go along, like, his dad disappears and his dad dies. He gets close to the king. He becomes an assassin for the king, hence the name Assassin's this and Assassin's that. He meets his great uncle, who is the assassin who is retiring and is training him. He becomes close with his uncle Verdi, and then he has his uncle Regal, who is the worthless piece of shit. I swear every single one of these trilogies has a really stupid villain or a really nasty villain. Regal was awful. Can't fucking stand that piece of shit. He's terrible. But he doesn't hold a torch. He can't even hold a torch to Kyle. I think Kyle's worse in Mad Ship. But Regal he's one of those villains that is awful and you just want him to die, and he does all these stupid, horrible things, and you know he's gonna get his in the end, but Hobbs sucks at that. So let me explain. I am sorry again that this is like all over the place. Like thoughts are just popping into my head and I'm just word vomiting them everywhere. Mel said it was okay, so I'm doing it because I don't do well on structure. I do well with just blah, blah, blah. And apparently I can't get my shit together to save my life. So again, here we go. Apologies. So Hobb has a really shitty time ending her stories. So if you think Stephen King can't end a story, Robin Hobb also sucks at it. And this is one thing that that bothered me a lot in the first Farseer. I hear that it gets better as it goes along. She's done the same shit in the Mad Ship series, but she does a really, really good job at world building and really good at character development. Like you feel like, especially in the Farseer trilogy, I felt like I was standing right next to Fitz the whole time. Like I was experiencing what he was experiencing right along with him. And that's just evidence of a good storyteller and a good writer. And that was enjoyable. The plot moves at a snail's pace until the very end of the third book. And then you get about 50 pages and it's whoop and everything's resolved. I can't stand that shit. I'm a plot-driven reader, which is weird why I like these books because it's a very much a character-driven story. So I shouldn't like it. In theory, I shouldn't like it. And I ended up really liking it. So that just is a test to how great of a writer Hobb is. She convinced a very hardcore plot-driven reader, just drew me in and made me love it. So kudos to her, but she sucks at writing endings and she sucks at giving her villains what they deserve. So Regal, for instance, he is a big piece of shit. He did a lot of terrible things. He murdered his own father. He technically did murder Fitz at one point. I mean, Fitz is still alive, but for a while there, you know, he did murder him. He actually really did until he was resurrected. So Regal is a very terrible, horrible person. All he wanted to do is to be king. And then once he does, he fucks everything up, per usual. Nobody's surprised. Because all he cares about is his wealth and his riches and all that stuff. I wanted him to get a really good comeuppance. I wanted him to either die a horrible, slow, painful death that we all got to witness. I wanted him to like be stripped of everything he had and like publicly humiliated. Something that would really hurt that character. I mean, even losing all of his riches and being publicly humiliated, that'd be awful for Regal. That would just be like one of the worst things in the world. Instead, all we got was, okay, you know, Verity's wife came back and they all, you know, they saved everybody. Like literally in the 10 seconds, reading the audiobook, it was literally about 5 minutes worth. The dragons came with everybody and they took back over the castle and they shunned Regal, but then they let Regal come back and live there and he was groveling and apologizing and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay, fine, you can still live here. And then literally one sentence that says, somehow in his sleep, he was eaten by like a swamp rat or something, or killed by swamp rats or something like that. I'm like, that's it. I get that he was a rat himself, so I appreciate that reference, but we didn't get to witness or be there for any of those things. And considering the plot moved so slow from the beginning and we were there for every single little thing, and then to have his death be just like a blip on the radar screen when he was the central villain for the entire first trilogy, that really pissed me off. Like, I didn't feel like it was enough payoff for all of the work that we did to get there. I know this is about Fitz, but he was horrible to Fitz. So that sucked. That was terrible. That was why book 3 got 3 stars, because it was not a satisfying ending at all. Like, I'm glad he died and I'm glad everything went back to normal. Yay. Yay, everybody. I really would have liked more page time just watching that guy just something, anything at all. We got really nothing. So I guess that's my feelings on the Farseer. Like, I'm sorry this is very rambly, but 443 was my rating. Overall, I would give the series like a probably a 4, maybe a 3.75, but I enjoyed it so much so I couldn't wait to continue on to the Live Ship Traders trilogy. Hi, what's up? Hello. I am now editing this video, and as I'm editing, which this happens every time when I do any kind of review, there's shit that I missed and it pisses me off because I'm like, I didn't even mention in my Farseer about the Fool, who is one of the best characters in the entire series. Like, he is the absolute best. So the Fool, he's the king's fool. So like you would think like a jester or something like that, and he sticks next to the Fool. The Fool is a prophet in a way, like he prophesizes about certain things and he can see the future and knows certain things, and he kind of bonds to Fitz, and it's a very interesting relationship how they bond, because Fitz is like, I don't really want anything to do with you, bro. Like, why are you hanging around? Like, this is kind of odd. And yet the Fool just shows up in opportune places and does things to help Fitz get out of certain situations. And the Fool, I could tell, is going to play a huge role in the rest of the whole entire series, which was evidenced again in Live Ships, which there will be another insert about Live Ships because there's certain things that I forgot about that too. But the Fool is probably my favorite character. He is the best. The way he's described is like, he's very pale. He's got, like, his description changes depending on who's describing him. It's almost like he looks different for everybody. And what I do enjoy about the Fool is that he's kind of genderqueer. Like, he's called a he, but some people assume that he is a she pretending to be a he, and that he's in love with Fitz, and like certain things like that, where he's kind of gender fluid. Like, you don't really know where he falls. Is he straight? Is he gay? Is he male? Is he female? Is he trans? Like, what is he? And you don't know. And granted, these books were written a long time ago, before people ever really discussed this at all. Like, I don't even know when the first one was published, but I know it was a long enough time ago where you didn't even see really just gay people in books that often, especially fantasy series or a really big epic fantasy series. So to see a character like the Fool, who you don't really know where he falls in the kind of spectrum, is really cool to see as a more modern reader. But yeah, I didn't even mention the Fool. Like, how fucking dare I not mention the Fool? But he was one of the best characters, I think, in the entire series. And I will make a comment about Molly. Can't fucking stand her. When you get to the live ship part, and I talk about putting people on a certain live ship and just blowing it up with a rocket launcher, you will get there. Molly's going to go on that boat. Molly is a childhood friend of Fitz that he kind of falls in love with, and they end up sleeping together and have a relationship. And she ends up getting pregnant with his child and then leaves because they can't be together because he is a royal bastard and blah, blah, blah. And so she leaves and, ends up living with and being with the stable master who raised Fitz. There's some tea. They end up getting married and have like 5 fucking kids or some shit. So that's kind of creepy because, he ends up being with Fitz's like stand-in father, which is kind of gross. And a little out there, but I don't like her. Molly was one of the ones that, with Fitz, like, he wouldn't stop talking about her. He was very focused on her, and I understand it was like his first love and he was in love with her, blah, blah, blah. But it became like one of those YA novels where like the main character can't stop talking about the person they like. And it's like, oh my God, just shut the fuck up. If you want to be with them, run away and be with them, or, do something. But, he never does because it's Fitz, and he's got to do what he's supposed to do and be true to the king. And even though the king's dying and being controlled by Regal and slowly being poisoned by Regal. And like I put in the cards or like in the subtitles, the skill is what Farseer people can do. And Fitz can skill as well. He just doesn't do it very well. He's way better with the wit than the skill. Verity, his uncle, is the head skill person. Like, he skills out to different people and like in their army and also to the enemy, like can get in their heads and misdirect them. And the word I was looking for was telepathy, not telekinesis. Good job. Obviously, I was very scattered when I filmed this, so editing me will be popping in hopefully only one more time to like correct, like asterisk things and add stuff that I have forgotten. But I apologize. I can't believe I fucking forgot the Fool. The Fool is the best. He is the best. And I have a feeling that him and Fitz are going to be are way more tied fate-wise than Fitz realizes, because the Fool is very much on fate and how, like, what you need to do to realize your fate, and he knows more than we do, and I believe that'll just slowly start to come out as it goes on. But that is my actual, that's my additions and my final thoughts on Farseer. Love it, can't wait to continue. But sorry I forgot the Fool. Her endings still suck. We deserved a better end for Regal that we got to witness. I will die on that hill. I had heard so much about Live Ship and like, oh my God, you're going to love it. It's everybody's favorite trilogy. Cassidy was like, oh, it's my favorite trilogy. Absolutely love it. Mel said it was really good, that I'd really like it as a plot-driven reader because it's very fast-paced, or fast-paced for Robin Hobb, way faster paced than the Farseer Trilogy. So I was all about it. I'm like, okay, great. Pick it up. And I immediately start to struggle, which is unusual because I should have struggled with Farseer. And so I pick up the Live Ship Traders thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna blaze right through it. I don't know if it was the hype that got to me or it was the story. And I think the issue is too many character POVs. Usually I don't mind, but I mean, this series has like 10 POV characters, I swear. Like, you get so many different POVs, and so it's hard to get invested the way I got invested in Fitz, and how I really cared about Fitz, and I really cared about the Fool, and I really cared about even Brashen and, wait, no, is that right? No, Brashen, no, is it Brashen? Or is Brashen Madship? Like, no, Brashen is Madship. The Stable Master, oh my God, what is his name? I can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, I cared about all of the characters in Farseer, the main ones. Verity, like, I was so focused on them and just wanted to know what's going to happen to them and stuff like that. With Live Ship Traders, you're introduced to a whole family. So Live Ship Traders has a really cool concept. So it's about these boats, and they all take place in the same world. So this is in another part of the world away from where Fitz is. And there's these boats called live ships that after 3 generations of people who own the boat die on its decks, the live ship quickens and becomes alive. So the figurehead becomes alive. It talks, it has thought, it has feeling, but all of its thought and feelings come from the memories of the people who died on their boats and the family members who've died on their boats that own them. And we learn about, as the story goes on, why live ships are the way they are, which I think is a cool concept. And the entire concept of the Live Ship Traders is really cool. The live ships, the way the figureheads are, the way their figureheads all have all their own different personalities. We meet a live ship called Paragon, who is mad. He is the mad ship. Like, he's mad. He's gone through some shit. He's been beached for a long time. His face was hacked, so he can't see. It was such a cool concept. And you meet the family, the Vestrit family, and there is a wife and a husband, and they have 2 daughters. Althea is the youngest daughter, and she has always sailed with her dad, and she's been on their live ship Vivacia forever. And Vivacia is about ready to quicken because her dad passes away, and so she quickens. The only issue is that his dad willed the ship to her sister and her husband Kyle. And so he's going to take over and captain the ship, which pisses Althea off because she sailed with her dad forever. She has bonded with the ship, even though the ship wasn't quickened. And the second the ship awakens, immediately wants Althea because, they were bonded. And so then it becomes this big thing of, well, Kyle's taking off with her ship and she's going to go get her ship. So you have that was their main thing to start, was Althea wants to get her ship back from her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law is a piece of shit. He is the villain in this one. Kyle, if you looked at misogyny in the dictionary, misogyny, douchebag, there'd be a picture of Kyle. He's terrible. He's awful. Women belong in the kitchen and they should be subservient, and it doesn't matter if your skills are better than him. It doesn't matter because he has a penis. Very much like the king of misogyny. Can't stand him. And the way he treats his son. Oh. So they have 3 children. Wintrow's the oldest boy. And he was always considered like weak and not your like stereotypical like buff guy or whatever. So his dad, is terrible. Wants nothing to do with him. So he gets sent to a monastery. But the second that Kyle takes over the ship, he pulls Wintrow back and is forcing him to be the family member on the ship, because the live ships, there has to be a living Vestrit family member on the ship in order for her to do what she needs to do and guide them to where they need to go and to listen. She's got to have a Vestrit family member. Kyle isn't Vestrit by blood. He married in, so he's not good enough, which pisses him off. So he steals his son because he's old enough. I think Wintrow's like 15. This kid has never been on a ship. He's never sailed. He has no experience whatsoever. And he gets thrown on there, and that this boy goes fucking through it. He goes through it. And I kind of bonded to Wintro. So you get him, and then you have his younger sister, Malta. She's in the middle. She's like 13, I think, when the series starts. She's your stereotypical spoiled, rotten brat who just is... Ugh. She's manipulative. She is vapid. All she cares about is her pretty clothes and like my friends and marrying somebody. And it's like, if you are a woman and all you know, and what brings you joy is fashion and your friends and finding a husband, that's fine. But Malta was so selfish and only cared about herself. She knew what was going on around her, but it didn't matter that her family was low on money and they needed help to do some, to go get their shit back or something like that. I just need new shoes and I just need this. And she was just a fucking little twat. I could not stand her until about book 2 or 3. Malta probably has the best story arc when it comes to growth and character development. And then I can't even remember the youngest boy's name because he's literally means nothing to the story. Yeah. So you have in all of these, so you have all of these people. There's so many. So there's also somebody named Amber which I have a theory on Amber that got proven correct, which, because I look for shit, because I figured these are all going to be connected, and I was very correct on my Amber theory. But there's this person named Amber who she runs the shop in the town where this takes place, and she becomes friends with Althea. And then you have Brashen, who is, was a first mate on the Vivacia forever and is in love with Althea. So you have all these characters. Oh, I totally forgot about Captain Douchebag, the pirate, which I can't even think of his name off the top of my head. But because there's so many fucking characters in this fucking series, in just this trilogy. And you get his point of view. And so you get him and like his point of view, his background, him getting his prostitute, that he's his favorite prostitute, and bringing her on as his girlfriend. And, they're hunting live ships. It's like, there is so much going on. So you have Captain Pirate Douchebag's point of view. You have his whore girlfriend, or that sounds terrible, his prostitute girlfriend's point of view. A lot. You get each live ship's point of view, and they're small. So you get Vivacia and Paragon's a couple of times. You get Malta's. You get Althea, you get Brashen's, you get Ronica, who is Althea's mom, you get her point of view. You get Althea's older sister's point of view. You get, there's Rainwilders, who come down, who are part of this, because they help build the live ships, and they have their own series, but you get their point of view. There's like 3 of them. You get 3 of their point of views, Rain, his mom, and somebody else throughout it. I already said Brashen, you get his point of view. Wintro's, Kyle's point of view at one point. Is there anybody else I'm missing? Probably. I think you get Amber's point of view for a hot second. Forgot about the sea serpents. They're everywhere. They're in multiple books, and it's very abrupt, and they just show up. So you get the sea serpent's point of view. At one point, you get a dragon's point of view. Oh, and then you get the satrap, who is like supposed to be like, I don't know, like a governor or some shit of another neighboring town is with or takes over or governs like the town that they're all from. You get his point of view at one point. You get, he has 2 ladies in waiting. You get one of her point of views at one point. I lost count. That's got to be like 20 or 30 point of views all in one trilogy. I hated it. So I do not like live ships as much as Farseer. Like, I want to go back to Fitz. And I know I'm in the minority, and I'm so sorry, Cassidy. But it's just, the story is awesome. And Mel was right in that it is faster paced. Like, there is a lot of plot happening. The serpents have a very important role. Because I don't know if I want to spoil all of it. It's confusing to try to like lay it all out there. But the serpents have a big role, the Rainwilders, and it's cool to watch how it all comes together to make the story what it is. And the plot itself is really good. I just wish we did not have so many fucking points of view. I did not get attached to anybody at all. And it wasn't like Farseer where I was attached to every single character, or most of them anyways, the ones I liked. Like, I was attached to Fitz, I was attached to the Fool. But you get to this series and the point of view changes every fucking chapter. Like, Althea is kind of meant to be the main character to start. But in multiple books, sometimes we don't see her for 400 pages. We're with Malta, or we're with Captain Pirate Douchebag. Still can't remember his name. We're with him for a couple of chapters, or then we get Wintrow's point of view, and the Wintrow ends up with the pirate captain for a good chunk of time, and so we'll get his point of view. Like, we are all over the place so fucking much that our supposed main character we aren't with for like 300 to 400 pages. That's annoying. And it made it hard, and I understand why, because her story is so epic for the trilogy, and the way it all comes together, it does make sense why. Because you need these people's point of view and like where they're coming from, because they're integral cogs to the wheel to make everything go. But it's really hard to get attached and to care. And it wasn't like Farseer where I cared. And live ships, I didn't care if they all fucking died. I started making a list because I hate Vivacia. I could give a fuck about Althea. She drives me nuts. I'll say Brashen just because I like him. Malta, I originally threw her on the ship, but I took her off because I like her development. But there's about 10 characters that I want to put on the live ship Vivacia, put it out in the middle of the ocean, and send a rocket launcher to it. Because I just don't give a shit about them. Or they make the story worse. Or they're annoying. The only characters I really cared about was Wintrow. I really love Wintrow. I like his story. I like his character development. And how he kind of came into his own. It's like very coming of age for him. He becomes a man while dealing with the fact that his father's a piece of shit and doesn't really love him. And that was really good. I like that. I like Malta's development from a spoiled, rotten twat brat, total twat waffle. Can't stand that bitch. From being totally terrible to finally realizing that it's not all about her, and she, and she stops being selfish and develops. Her character develops very nicely, and as she moves through the trilogy to get where she is towards the end, I liked that a lot. So not that I was attached to her, I just liked her character arc, I guess. So yeah, the live ships is like, if we're going trilogy order, it's below Farseer. So I'm sorry. I'm in the minority. I just didn't like it. I just don't like all the multiple POVs. Again, love the story, love the concept, love the world expansion. Robin Hobb is a master at that. I can't do 25 POVs. And it got to a point where, we have the multiple POVs. You're just biding your time till you get back to the ones that you actually give a shit about. That's how I felt. Like, I did not like being in Althea's head. It was like, oh my God, if you do not stop whining about getting your shit back. We've read over 2,000 pages. We know you want Vivacia back. You don't need to quit crying about it. Stop it. Can we talk about something else? Or just go to somebody else's head that wants to talk about something else important, please. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Hi again. Okay, so addition to live ships, I don't have all that much about live ships except for one main thing, and that is the narrator for live ships is awful. She might be part of the reason why I didn't enjoy live ships so much. She also, I guess, narrates Rain Wilds, which makes me nervous because I do want to read Rain Wilds, and I'm kind of scared because I'm only going to be reading these on audio. And so knowing that it's the same fucking narrator, she's awful. So the way she pronounces R's, it's like, huh. It was like, are you okay? She's like, oh, huh. It's like, are you hawking up a loogie? Are you dying? Like, it takes a long time to get used to. I don't think I got used to her narration style until the end of like book 2. Start of book 3, so I think that had a big reason why I didn't like it. Now, you could argue, we'll switch to the physical. Well, if I switch to the physical, I ain't gonna read them. Like, I haven't read anything physically probably since, like, January or February. It's been a long time. I've been only doing audio and sometimes ebook, but even then, that's sketch. I haven't finished an ebook in over a year, so. Oh, wait, no, I lied. I read a novella in, like, March. But other than that, with it being audio only, she is one to watch out for. Some people seem to like her. I think even Cassidy said she preferred her over the male narrator for the first Farseer trilogy. I highly disagree. Like, the female narrator's fucking terrible. She's awful. And I'm going to have to deal with her again in Rain Wilds, so hopefully it's a little better. I have a feeling it's probably not going to be, but fingers crossed it's not as terrible as it was for live ships. So I think that's a big issue. for me. And I think it's a big reason why I struggled, and why I'm DNFing it. And I have read a lot of the spoilers, so I think I know enough to be able to continue, because this is just the ending to theirs. And again, Kyle does end up dying. The most horrible piece of shit person in the entire world ends up dying, yes. But even it's so insignificant that even in like the wiki fandoms and stuff like that, it just says that he dies. It doesn't say how. It's probably something really quick. And Mel goes, yeah, it's not satisfying. It's very quick. And granted, for Kyle being as horrible as he is absent in a good, huge chunk of these books. Like most of book 2, and I'm halfway through book 3, and he still hasn't made an appearance. So he's mainly just in book 1 and the beginning of book 2. But he's not really that significant. I mean, he is the villain, but really Pirate Douchebag is the villain. Still haven't looked up what his name is and still can't remember it because I'm awful. But yeah, he ends up being the main villain. And from reading the spoilers, I like what his history ends up being and what you end up learning in his tie to Paragon and how that all happened and came to be. So, I mean, I understand it. But then again, you cannot excuse somebody's bad behavior as an adult because of their trauma in their past. Your trauma is not an excuse to be a shitty human being. You should use your trauma to be a better person, like Althea did, like Wintrow does. And how Wintrow, I mean, he goes through a lot of fucking trauma and how he became who he was. Even the woman that was a prostitute that Pirate Douchebag took in to be his, like, spouse or significant other, she went through a lot of fucking trauma and used it to better herself. There are ways to deal with trauma that do not entail becoming just as bad of an abuser or person as the person who did the things to you. And so I don't really like that part. And he ends up dying too, so it doesn't even really matter. Oh, Kennett. There's his name. Captain Kennett. There we go. It just popped into my head. Captain Kennett is Captain Pirate Douchebag. He is a terrible human. I liked him at first. And then it was like, ooh, okay. But I like that he was kinder to Wintrow than Wintrow's own father. I mean, Wintrow is treated so terrible by his dad. Like, his dad even disowns him, says, you are not my son, you're a horrible person, just because Wintrow won't mold to what his dad wants him to be. And whereas Kennett kind of takes him under his wing. But Wintrow maintains who he is as a person. He maintains his good personality. He's a good person. He's a very caring person. And his bond of Vivacia becomes really cool. But I keep talking shit about Vivacia, but I never explained why. I don't like Vivacia. She is whiny. She's bitchy. She's very petulant. And I think a lot of that has to do with Kennett, because when Kennett steals her from Kyle, he bonds with her, but here comes like more spoilers, like go around. Kennett belongs to Paragon, or Paragon belongs to Kennett. Like, Kennett's family owned Paragon, and Paragon was stolen by this really big, huge pirate that I can't remember his name because he's barely mentioned a couple of times. And what Kyle and Kennett did to Wintrow is what was done to Kennett, only not as severe. So when Kennett was a child, the pirate murdered his entire family, and kept Kennett on Paragon because Paragon needed somebody of his family line to be on the ship in order to do what needed to be done. So Kennett was kept prisoner. He was raped. He was assaulted multiple times. It was horrible, absolutely horrific. And he eventually, he eventually gets away. And that is part of the spoilers that I've read. So I'm not exactly sure how he gets away, but I know that the damage to Paragon's face was done by Kennett. He blinded him, and Paragon, because the live ships can take memories and stuff from you, and that's how they develop their personalities. So he takes all of those bad memories from Kennett of his rape and assault and stuff like that, and so that he can go and live a normal life. And then Paragon flips his ship and kills all of the pirates, and that's why Paragon's the mad ship, because he went crazy with all of these memories of what was done to Kennett. So they eventually meet up again as, Althea and Brashen come to save or to steal Vivacia back, whatever. So he gets that bond again with his ship, and then you start to understand why Paragon is mad. And I really enjoyed Paragon. I thought he was funny. But Paragon ends up with a new face. So here's the Amber spoiler. So Amber is a character that became friends with Althea. She's really a side character, very feminine, but, you know, would hide herself as a slave a lot. Slavery is a big theme in this book as well, or the series. And she is a wood carver. And at the end of the Farseer Trilogy, the Fool becomes a toy maker and disappears, and Amber is the Fool. They are the same person. And I figured that out very quickly because Amber makes some comments and says some words and phrases. I'm like, oh my God, Amber's the Fool. And I messaged Mel and she's like, not saying a word. And I'm like, oh, she's so the Fool. This ties in to her being gender fluid and all that stuff, because in the Farseer Trilogy, the Fool is male. He presents as male. All that kind of stuff still kind of hovers on that precipice, but very much presents as male. In Live Ships, presents as female, 100% female. Nobody questions it. Feminine voice, feminine everything. But Amber carves a new face for Paragon, who looks similar to somebody that we know named, Fitz Chivalry Farseer. And changes his face because it was hacked and to look like Fitz. And so that, I guess, would be the big, like, hello, like, if you didn't figure it out. I figured out who Amber was very early on. And it clicked when Althea first runs into her. I think it's in book 1. She says something. Amber says something that she's looking for the boy with 9 fingers. And I believe she's looking for Wintro. And Wintro loses a finger on the ship and in an accident. And we already know this as a reader that it happened, but how does Amber know who Wintro is when she's never met him, has no idea who he is? But the Fool is a prophet, and the Fool sees things. And so if the Fool is looking for somebody that they've never met before, and so, like, I started speculating then, and then there's a couple other things that Amber says in the way that she talks in the cadence. I'm like, oh my God, it's the Fool. Like, that's the shit the Fool says. And I was right. And I like that. So I'm curious when I start the next books, how the Fool explains where he's been all this time. So that's curious for me. But I was so happy to that is a main tie, that the Fool was with the Live Ships and in this trilogy, and that's going to help tie it back to the Fitz series and all of that. But yes, I think that's all I needed to add. There's my Amber spoiler. I remembered who Kenneth is. Yay me, remembered it right at the end, towards the end of editing this video. I remembered Kenneth's name and that he is a terrible person. But I will give Kenneth credit for, I liked who he was. I mean, he is a villain, but he's a way better villain than I think Regal or Kyle, in that you get more of his background and his motivations and why he is the way he is. Like, when he takes over Vivacia and he keeps Wintro on the ship, he doesn't kill Kyle. He asks Wintro, would you like me to kill your father? And Wintro says no. So he abandons Kyle on a remote island that Kenneth's from and leaves him with his mother, with Kenneth's mother, which is interesting. Like, he very well could have just killed him. So he has grown from how he was treated, but is still treading the same path and doing the same things that his abuser did to him, just a little bit differently. Doesn't make him a good person. And he does end up with a peg leg at one point, which was kind of fun. And I should have enjoyed this in theory with the fact that it's a pirate story. And it's a really fun pirate on the seas story. But again, the multiple POVs killed it for me. And I can't wait to get back to Fitz. And I think I'm fine DNFing it where I am, even though it's going to piss off a lot of people. And I apologize. But I haven't read in like 2 weeks. And I know it's because I feel like I need to finish this book that I don't want to finish. So I'm just not going to do it. And I've read enough spoilers to where I feel like I know the conclusions enough and where everybody ends up to where it's fine. And I know I'm going to see some of these people again in further books, and I'm fine with that. Like, I feel like I know enough. And if not, I can always ask like Becca or Mel, like, if something doesn't land quite right. But I miss Fitz and I miss the Fool, and I want to go back to them. So I'm gonna. And now back to me concluding this video very terribly. I mean, I shouldn't feel bad because reading is subjective and everybody's gonna like something different. I just know I'm severely in the minority and I can't wait to get back to Fitz. And honestly, I've made the executive decision and I am sorry, Becca, I am sorry, Cassidy, to DNF Ship of Destiny. I think I'm about 50% through. I'm about halfway. And this book is massive. And I just don't give a fuck anymore. There's plenty of wikis so I can get the spoilers that I need. Because, I mean, they are going to tie in together eventually to figure out, like, the conclusion for some of the characters that we won't see again. Because I know we see some of them in further books, like the Rain Wilds and the last Fitz books. And I've already read the spoilers. And honestly, I don't think it's worth my time to finish because I have not picked that book up in probably 2 weeks. And I was flying through the first ones. So the fact that it didn't put me back in a slump. I just took a break, have been watching TV instead. And I talked to Mel about it a little bit. And I was like, hey, what do you think? She goes, just fucking DNF it. If you don't want to do it, then don't. She's like, you don't want to not read because you feel like you have to finish this. And I know most people are like completionists when it comes to the series. You have to finish all of them. I've read 50% of the last one. I think I can get through with just spoilers to know what I need to know to just finish it out. Maybe I'll come back and finish it later, but I miss Fitz. And I miss, what is it? I miss his wolf. Was it Night Shadow? I think. It's been so long since I've been with them. And I miss the Fool. I miss the Fool. The Fool as the Fool and not as who he currently is right now in live ships. I don't know. I want to go back to his part of the world. As whiny as fuck as Fitz is, I don't know. I just like him more and I like his story more. And I know that he's the central integral of the whole 16. And most people don't like Rain Wilds. I hope I like Rain Wilds. I liked the area of the Rain Wilds, like being there, what little we were in live ships. So I'm hoping that I will like being there again. And Rain Wilds is a lot to do with the dragons, so I'm excited about that. So I think I will like Rain Wilds better. I just didn't like live ships, guys, and I'm really sorry. But yeah, I think that's it for my ramble. I have like half an hour of raw footage. That's my ramble. Love Farseer. Not a big fan of live ships, but that's where I've been. I promise I will try to update more. I mean, I meant for this video to go up weeks ago and not even include the live ships. Like, I was going to make this video with just about the Farseer, and then when I was done with live ships, make another video about that. But honestly, I've been so busy. Like, I'm home alone in my house right now, which is unusual. So I just figured I'd take the time just to get it out. We'll put both of them together and be done with it. So please let me know in the comments down below if you've read these. Please don't come for me because I hate live ships. I'm so sorry. Don't come for me. But yeah, I guess that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around. I know I'm not consistent. I'm trying to be better. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.